So before we get started with any cane exercise program, check with your physician, make sure that it's okay. We don't make any medical claims here. This is for educational purposes only. Joe Robina of American Cane Self-Defense for Cane Masters, and today we're talking cane exercises for strength and mobility. So there's different ways that we can use the cane to strengthen and to increase our mobility, which becomes increasingly more important as we age, as the years go by. You can attach the bands, the exercise bands, to them. That's one way to do it. The other way is, assuming that you don't have anything like this, we're going to focus on isometric exercises using the cane. Now, I want to preface, before I actually show you those exercises, the importance of visualization and really getting your mind, coordinating your mind, putting your mind into the movements that you're doing. In other words, I can't be going through the movements, watching television, or being distracted by something else. I really am going to have to coordinate mind and body to make this effective. Okay, so we're starting with the largest muscle groups. We're starting with the lower body. So we're going to use the cane to go into a tripod stance. We do that by taking the cane tip and settling it. If you look at the heels, that becomes the base of the triangle, the apex right in front. I'm going to put my hands, and I'm going to sit back as if I were sitting down on a chair. My feet are slightly wider than shoulder width apart, and I sit back. My arms naturally are going to have an extension. Now, if I look down, I should be able to see the tips of my toes. The opposite of that would be to try and squat this way, where when I look down, I don't see anything. Not only that, if you use a chair, you don't want to plop down and sit, but you can use it as a reference point as to where to go. We're going to go 90 degrees or just a little bit more and then come up. Again, imperative that you keep your mind in the movement, and you're mindful of your breathing. Whatever you do, do not hold your breath. So if I'm going in through the nose and exhaling here, I'm also keeping a slight bend in the knee so that I'm never locking out the joint fully. There's no snapping motion, it's just from here to here. The question then becomes, how many repetitions, how many sets am I going to do it? The rule of thumb is, hey, once you can start feeling that lactic acid burn, then you're going to take a break, back off, and the idea is to be progressive with it and be consistent. That is more important than going all out with intensity, especially if you have an exercise. So that's one exercise that you can do here. Those of you that are feeling that might be stronger already structurally, you can go and isolate that, still using the cane, and go into a lunge. Now, I'm still going to take a look at, when I look at the knee, I'm going to make sure that the knee's not going past the toes, and I do bend the back here, but this here is going to help you to come up. So I'm going to go to 90 degrees and then come right back up. You're going to notice that that's going to take it up a notch in that limb that you're isolating, but that's what you have your cane there for. Use it. What starts happening as you train with your cane is your mind and body connection and your connection with the cane becomes stronger. You're building neural pathways with the tool itself. You're just becoming more familiar with it. So this isn't the lower body. Let's go down to the leg, implying here we're going to go on the tip of the toes with a calf raise. And for this one, I am going to keep the knees straight. I go up to the top, I pause, and I come down. I'm going to go ahead and repeat that movement, and it responds well to higher repetitions, 20 and above, 25, 30, even 50 repetitions going up and down as you go conditioning. If I bend the knees, I'm no longer working that gastroc, that calf muscle. I'm instead working the soleus. So for this one in particular, it's one of the only times that you're going to keep the knee straight. Using the cane again as a tripod, go up with a slight pause and come back down. You can augment and intensify the exercise by stepping on a ledge. So if I'm on the stairs on a step, I can go ahead and increase the range of motion, because the calf muscle itself has a short range, right? But you go up, your heels would be coming over. And notice that the commonality in all of them is the cane is functioning as my tripod there. So I go up. From the lower body, we're going to move to the back. And the back, there's two ways we can do that. We can take a movement where the cane is coming overhead and come down. Now, here is where you need to be mindful of that visualization. You're thinking that you're pulling down something that is pretty challenging there, and you need to be able to breathe the whole time that you're doing this. So if I'm moving down, what I don't want to do is make sure that this isometric contraction that I'm holding my breath. I want to be able to come here and then back up, creating tension. Now, here's something that'll help. As you're coming down, think of separating the cane. Think of pulling the cane apart. Obviously, that's not going to happen. And then right back up as you're coming in, you can think of moving the cane in this direction as if it were joining, and come right back up. When you're coming down, you're working the muscles of the back. As you're coming down and contracting, you're working the shoulders the whole time, and your pectoralis is working. So essentially, this is how we're targeting the major muscle groups of the upper body. The shoulder requires and warrants, and it's a special muscle and joint because it's so mobile, but it also is one of the ones where you see the most injuries there. So it pays to go ahead and give it attention. Two movements that I'll share with you. One is pressing up here, and then again pulling down to the top of the chest, but that pressing motion in particular. Now, if you have shoulder injuries, you're going to have to circumvent and work around that. You may not be able to do that for strengthening. The other way to do that is to take the cane. Here's the other exercise. Your hand is going to go on the horn and the crook. My left hand is adding the resistance here, going this way, and my right is coming up. And I'll let that come up just about 90 degrees. Now, if I continue to go all the way up, I'm going to start getting my trapezius more involved. So I'll go from here to here. Notice that this whole time, even though I'm offering resistance here, I can still keep up a conversation. It requires practice. When you're isolating limbs and muscle groups, you're doing here one at a time. Make sure you go to the other side and do that as well. So what we have remaining are the smaller muscle groups of the arms. So most of you are familiar, just about everybody familiar with a biceps curl. And a lot of the canes, Cane Masters canes, you're going to notice you have two sets of grips in here, which are very comfortable for that purpose. So you're going to come here, and again, you're going to dial into that visualization where you're pulling something here that is really challenging you. And you can go both ways. I'm in a palm up grip. I can visualize this joining of the cane, and on the way down, just the opposite, pulling apart. But the whole time I'm maintaining tension right on the biceps so that it looks this way and right back here. Notice that at no time, and I don't pause top or bottom, I'm here, I just come back. I keep the tension continuous and slow throughout, right? As opposed to doing explosive movements. That's to work the front, the bicep. So now we move on to the back of the arm, which is actually the bigger muscle groups in the arm, and that's your tricep. There's various ways that we can do that. So I'm going to show you how to use the cane again as a tripod, and I'm putting my thumbs right over the horn. I'm keeping a slight bend in the knee. I'm leaning just forward slightly and coming from here to here. And it's a short movement, and little by little, I can go increasing the range of motion, bringing my nose closer and bringing it up. At no time do I have a complete lockout at the top. I'm coming here, and I'm using essentially my weight. I can do this gradually. The better I get, I can move away from that cane. Now, once I start doing that, we're going to start involving the core, your abdominal muscles even more. If you're not used to training the abdominal core, you really have to be gradual with this, because as you come in closer, you're going to start feeling it here, okay? So your lower body is essentially acting as your spotter. Another way of doing that is to simply use the cane, push down, push down. With all these movements, you can offer counter resistance. You see how it's shaped here? It's perfectly. So this hand would pull up. This one's going to push down from here to here, right? You can do it this way. You can also bring the thumb over and see which grip feels better for you here. Again, all of these, my breath is going, I'm focused in on the movement. You're going to feel pretty good in terms of the strengthening when you're done with this. You're going to get the endorphins going. But it's also developing that relationship, that mind-body relationship between you and the tool, so that it just increases familiarity with it. Strengthening, again, one of the key components as we age.